All right, cool. There we go. Confirm. All right, cool. So what you're given is just this HTML file. Right. The first thing you'll notice is I pulled in
I can't see.
the. Oh dang! All right, dank. All right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Is that better? Is it good?
It's not good.
Okay. You want to sit in the front? There's only so much I can do.
I'm the only one. I think I'm the only one speaking out about it.
Yeah.
You really can't. Yeah, you can't really see it from back.
So you should sit in front.
I'm okay. I think so. You want to sit
There are definitely seats more forward. Mo forward. Mo forward. All right, cool. I appreciate you saying something, and that's very good. Is that better?
Oh yeah, a lot better.
Yeah?
Yes.
You don't see something.
All right, I need to try to figure out how to resize this Bad Johnson. All right, hold on. Resize this Bad Johnson. All right, cool. Can I blow that up? Oh, dang. No. Dang. All right. Cool. So this is what we're going to work with. Are you all right? Check or hold. Noise. Nice. All right. So what you'll notice is I pulled in the alert, log, warn, and this like nested button exactly from the last one, and that's going to come to play. So what I want to go over today is I'm actually going to review and complete task lister for you, and so you can kind of see the steps, the thought process. I need to teach you something called event bubbling and event delegation. And then we will talk about nested event handlers, how that works, and why oftentimes you should try to avoid them because of awkward side effects, although they're not always like completely avoidable. So the first thing is I have something called DOM content loaded as an event listener. I've mentioned this several times before in terms of how I can get the HTML. Instead of having the script tag at the bottom, I can pull it all the way to the top. And what this event listener will do is it will wait until that DOM content, all that HTML is loaded on the page, and then it will do something. And that's all. So the event is when the DOM loads. And that's pretty important. So I can add a lot of my code in here. For this lecture, I will be adding all my code in here for the ease, for simplicity's sake. You should not be adding all your code in here, and we'll talk about it at a different lecture. All right? So the first thing is the feature that I want to build is I want to be able to do something. Bloop. I want to add this task. When I hit create task, it should add to my to-dos. Cool? And unfortunately, it does nothing right now. It does some sort of like page refresh. We're familiar with this already, yes? All right. Does anyone feel comfortable attempting to explain why that happens or what is happening?
It defaults to the create, which refreshes and redirects it.
All right. The form will normally send by default a post action, and that post action does some sort of like redirect because it will send it somewhere. What I didn't include last time is the action is the URL it goes to. So if I post to this pound sign, then in fact it's just going to reload this page. And so what are the pieces of information that we need to complete this feature set? What do I need? Well, think about it, right? I'm putting some information in this input, and when the user clicks this create tasks and ultimately submits the form, something should happen. That's what it sounds like in English. So what are the pieces of information that I need in JavaScript? The task description, right? So I can do, oops, I need the task description. Okay, need, so the task description essentially, right, is the user input. And how we get that is, we can do task description, it's going to be, and how do we grab this over here? Right. So we need the query selector. And we can reference the HTML to see which one of these is it. All right, this new task description is the label, but we actually want, yeah, which is actually technically incorrect. Cool. That's fine, because I did this. Bloop, bloop, right? So far so good? Right, I put the hash here because it's an ID. I can always test real quick. The task description, and I should see it is in fact just this input. So should I be asking for its value right now? No, not yet, because I want to wait until the user clicks that submit before I pull that value. Because the only time there's going to be anything in that description is after user types it in and then clicks submit. So it makes sense to pull the value after the submit button is clicked. So cool, smart. What else do we need?
The form.
All right, do we want the submit button or the form?
The form.
Either one will work in this particular case, but as forms get more complicated, you ever see a form that has like 30 fields, there's like a radio button, there's a couple of check boxes. Pulling the submit button is not necessarily going to be having all the data from the whole form. So typically, if you're submitting a form, you're going to want to listen for the form submit, not necessarily the button click. Cool? So form submit. So let's grab that form. So we need the form. Let me just boop, 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 boop. All right, and how do we grab it?
Same thing.
Const, right? Task form. Sure. Boop, 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 boop. Cool. Nice. It's just right here. So bloop, 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 bloop. Cool. And we should probably. All right. I know I hammer this home, but trust me when I tell you, on a code challenge or in a whiteboard challenge, in an interview, even when you're writing code, you have to test your assumptions. You have to make sure it is what you think it is. And in fact, it is. It's this form. So I have the form and I have the input field. What should I do now?
Actual.
The actual input, or should I start listening for the form?
Listen.
Okay. So now, all right, I have the actual input itself, the form, the field, and I have the form. Now I need to wait until the user does something. And so I need to listen to when the form is submitted. Cool. How can I do that? Should I add event listener? Just like this?
No.
Form.
On the form, right?
Yep.
So do I have access to the form?
Yep.
Cool. And I'm going to add an event listener onto the form, and I'm listening for what event?
Submit.
Noise. And then what should I do when that?
Callback.
It is a callback, but what should I do?
Add.
You should get the event.
Right? It receives the event, and the first thing I should do for a form submission, that's right, is I should prevent that weirdo sort of like page refresh action. And so remember, I have to invoke this method. Boop, boop, boop. Cool. Let's test. Let's log real quick. Yeesh. Cool. Every time I submit, yeesh comes out, right? Right, okay. So what happens now? Now that the form is not doing that weird page refresh, I prevented the default action for it. What should happen? We do whatever we want. Absolutely. Yeah. So what is it that we want to do? Right. I want to be able to at least pull the value at this point. So I can do the task description, and then I can pull its value, right? So I can say const,
New task.
okay, new task, I like that, equals to task description.value, right? So is it really the task description, or as much as it's just the task input? This reads a little bit better, right? I'm like asking for the value of that input.
Now, because this changes constantly, like with each input, can you still use a constant, or would you use a let with the task definition?
The question is, can I use a const, or should I use a let instead? Right? The idea here is when it comes to closure, this function fires every single time submit is done. So this will in fact be a new const every single time. It will create a new piece of memory. And that does not mutate once the user submits. So it is better to use const. unless you plan on mutating it, right? Like taking it and then like let's say you want to like lowercase it for like a search functionality or something, then I would use let. But here I have no intention of changing it, so I prefer const, and that is a very good question. So what I really want to do is I want to take inside my to-dos, add in whatever it is that the user just typed here. So how can I add this in? What should I be grabbing? What should I be looking for? What's the next step?
Element. Identify the to-do list.
Okay, so where do I want to add? All right, and where is it that you want to add?
Create the element inside the.
Oh, snap. Did it work? Oh, did it stop?
What'd you try to do?
I'm not sure. I think it just stopped. Can I just continue the recording?
I don't know.
Oh. Press the button.
Yeah, I'll just,
Oh no.
we'll just overwrite it. We'll find out.
So.
We'll find out. It'll be fine.
Data.
You have the other recording. I have to use the mouse. This like, anyways. All right. So where do I want to add? Let's take a look at the HTML. Where do I want to add this?
Into the UL with ID tasks.
Right. All of a sudden, here's the curveball. Right. This is a unordered list that I want to add to. So I want to add to this list. Cool. Great. Do I have access to it right now? Great. So want to add to list, and how do I get it? Equals to okay, and which one do I want? List or tasks?
Tasks.
Smart. And that is a ID of tasks. Nice. Cool. What do I do with the list? Okay. Can I just add like a string to a list? Like a list? Okay. So what do I need to do?
List.
I need to make the node that I want to add. And do I want to add a p tag here? I want to add a list item. So great. And this is going to be const li or like new. Cool. And then what do I want to do with this li? Can I append it right now? What is this new li right now? It's literally an empty li tag. There's no text on it. There's no attributes on it. So what do I want to add to this li? Inner text. We will get to inner HTML this afternoon, and it becomes that much more powerful. Yes, that's the word I want to use. It also becomes a potential security issue, and we'll touch base this afternoon on that. So there's a new li with inner text, a value of what? What do I want to set it to?
User input.
Whatever the user typed in, right? So I've saved it right here called new task. Cool. So new task, great. That was weird. All right. So what's next? Now that the li is no longer empty, it has some text. What should I do now? Append. Append to what? Cool. So list dot append child, and I can add that new li. All right. So let's test. Yup. Wow. There it is. Boop 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 boop. Added a bunch of times. I probably want to do something like reset the form when I'm done. Cool. So task form dot reset, and I want to invoke that method. Yeah. Boop, and it's reset. So, are there any questions so far on like just that process and how we're able to create that functionality? It's very similar. The only curveball is watch what you want to add it to. So in the case it's like a UL or OL, you want to make a LI. Not everything is going to be a P tag. Don't pattern match. You have to be doing things with a purpose, with a process. All right, so cool. We reviewed task lister. What I want to do now is add some additional things. All right, so one of the stretch goals for this is I want to add this like delete button. So let me do that. First thing I want to do is, if I want to add delete button, I should probably create what? Yeah, it was, but I liked it. All right. What? And that's just going to be a bouton. All right. That's it. So what does this delete button have right now? Any attributes? Any text?
No.
No. So what should be the text be?
X.
Sure. Okay. And then what else can I do now?
X like a check mark on the vendor.
I can also take the list and do I want to add it to the list or do I want to add it to the actual item? So new li.appendChild. I want to add it to the list item itself, not on the whole task list. And now I can add the delete button.
You should put that before list on something.
Say again?
Put 31, 32, above 31.
Line 32 above line 31. So do you want the button to be added on something that hasn't been added to the page yet?
Wait, you want to add the button to the LI before the compare LI.
Let me ask you a question. Before this happens, is there an li on the page? Okay. Can I add something to something that is not there? Cool. Destroy. And there it is, this fat X over here. Cool?
Cool.
What does this X do right now?
Nothing.
So we can probably add some functionality. And that is, on the delete button, what do you want to do?
On click. Not on
All right. On click is going to be like jQuery. So let's stay away from that. And that's going to be a click. You cannot submit like a button, right? You have to click a button. So on click, what do you want this to do? This is going to receive the event. Yeah, did you see that? That was weird. Yeah, I can just take the list item itself and remove it from the DOM. So, bloop, bloop. Yeah, man. Okay, no, yes, shh. And if I click any of these, bloop, 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 and that's really about it. The idea here is that we have an event listener and also an event listener. Every time you submit, it adds one more event listener. So if I have 10 items on here, how many event listeners were added to the page? That's right, 10. Right? That wasn't a trick question. I'm not the powerful Mike Chang. I'm not that smart. Memory-wise, 10 event listeners it winds up being a decent amount of memory. Not like in the big picture, but if we can make this one event listener, that would be better than 10, just in terms of like the amount of events that are firing on the page and what I'm listening to. So something I want to talk about is called event bubbling, event delegation. Before I move forward, anyone, any questions on the process, the idea, the thought, and how to implement and complete task lister? Cool. All right, event bubbling and delegation. This is important. So, what is event delegation? Right? Event delegation is the fact that whenever an event fires, there's 3 phases. There's a capture phase, a target phase, and a bubbling phase. So, if I click on this TD, right, or this TR, this like table row, for example, whatever, what happens is it captures everything. When I click this TR, the window, right, that's the whole like window object, the document, the HTML, the body, the table, the T-body, the TR, knows about it. I am now at the element that I wanted. That is the target. Once I'm there, the event will bubble back up, meaning the T-body knows that the TR now knows that it was clicked. The table knows that the TR knows that it was clicked, all the way back up to the window. The easiest way to really understand digest this is simply the fact that as a parent, this body, it will or will not know about anything that happens to its children.
Will.
Who says will? Yes, absolutely. If I click this table row, will the body know about it? Yes, because it passed the body, right? It's like a game of telephone. Like, hey, listen, you're going to get clicked. And then the next one's like, you're going to get clicked. Oh, I'm getting clicked. Got you, fam. Let them know. Oh, hey, he was clicked or she was clicked. And it goes all the way back up. So an example of seeing that is going to be this right here. So we have a div, a div, a div, a div, a div. So one is a parent or child. One is like the grandfather, you could say, right? And then all of these are subsequent nested children. So that means that if something happens to one, does 5 know about it? No. It stops and then it goes back up. And because 1 is the grandfather, the children don't really need to know. So if I highlight over 1, no one else really knows. But if I highlight over 2, will 1 know about it? And that's event bubbling and event delegation. We could take advantage of this by simply saying if I added 1 large event listener to a parent, if anything happens to the children, remember, does the parent know about it? Yes. All right. Can't get away with nothing on HTML. Nathan. All right. So let's talk about that. So we have alert, log, and error in the same way that we did last time. What do we do? How do we make those all work? How many event listeners do we add? 3. I just added nested in there. I don't think I have time to get to it. But we had 3, right? 1 for alert, 1 for log, 1 for error. So what I want to do is I want to add 1 event listener on a parent that listens for anything that happens to its children. And that way I'm saving a little bit of memory. I'm not adding a ton of event listeners. And there's more benefits to it than that. But for right now, that's kind of the scope of your understanding. So in index.html, what is the parent of all the buttons? Kind of like this main div here, right? And that starts here, main content. If I wanted just the parent of the buttons, what can I do? There we go. I can just go bloop. And then, cool. And then I can, and I should, do this bad boy right here. Wow, that tab is powerful. It's too intense. I'll fix it later. So this is just going to be, right, the button mommy. Cool? The button parent. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter.
Button mommy now.
Button Look at me. I'm the button mommy now. So what I could do is I can... All right. We can const, right? Button parent. Doesn't matter. It's 2019. And it's going to be the document dot query selector on the... Come on, now help me out here. That's right, the button mommy. Very good. So this button parent, if I, on the button parent, add an event listener for like a click, all I want to do right now is console log. Console log somewhere in the parent. Cool? So if I click here, I'm clicking, right? Which you can see because I'm clicking here, right? Nothing happens. But if I click inside any of the divs, even if it's between the buttons, because remember it's inside the parent, somewhere in the parent. If I click the error, it will also console log. If I click the log, it will also console log. But if I click outside, nothing. If I click between, again, it logs. You can see because the button didn't get that highlighting, right? That means that everything the children know about and do, the parent will know about. We can take advantage of this by simply adding that 1 event listener. Is there a unique way to identify each one of these buttons?
Yes. Not yet.
There will be.
There is. There's this like data name. There's this data attribute. If you want to be more specific, right, you can just be like alert. Cool? You can use data name, you can use alert. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that there's some unique identifying feature for each of the buttons that separates it. So how can you tell if one button was clicked or the other. What would you want to be using here? There we go. Right? And if, the condition will be, if the e.target, what is the target of the event? Is it going to be the alert button, the in-between, or the log button? Right? We could see if e.target .id is equal to alert, then we can do something. Only alert. So if I click log, somewhere in the parent. But if I click alert, only alert. So I can use one event listener with the power of event delegation to control what gets clicked because the parent knows about everything. So for example, right, if the school calls because you're in trouble and it's like, hello, which one? Child 1? Ooh, I'm gonna let her know what time it is. Thank you, bye. Right? Am I going to talk to child 2 and 3? No. And so if child 1 gets in trouble or is clicked, then child 1 will do something. And then this is where that function will go. Like logic goes here. Cool? I'm not going to finish it because it's lunch time. But the idea is that if e.target.dataset.name, right, because that's how you access these, dataset.name is equal to log, then console log. Or if the dataset.name is error, then console error. And that's kind of like what you can do to separate what happens on your page by adding one main event listener on a parent.
Can you add it to the body?
You can.
Crazy about
You can. Probably shouldn't though.
it? Really long thing.
Yes, super powerful if statement. Yeah. But use them where they make sense, right? Like, hey, these buttons are kind of grouped together that share similar functionality. I'm just going to wrap it because I'm the full stack developer. I just drop a div. I can control it that way. Are there any questions on event delegation, event bubbling, the capture phase, target phase, bubbling phase, and how that's practical to us to only write less event handlers? Cool. All right, that's all I have for you.